Welcome to Beyond Bars Podcast.
Thank you for that. I actually like that.
Voice.
Yeah. Welcome to Beyond Bars
voice.
Podcast, where we
Say stuff. I
Say
honestly
stuff.
don't remember what your
Well,
tagline is.
we got a good soundbite.
What was your
from you.
alternate for name of our podcast?
Well, actually, on my way here, I was reminiscing upon my great line of pre-nut delusion. So,
Well,
sorry.
that's not exactly what we were discussing.
no, not
prior.
at all.
That's
I like
not
that
what-
word.
But I was tying it in my head on
You
the
said
way here.
something
So
about crime news or something
Oh,
when you
wait.
walked in.
I don't remember. I'll be honest with
All right,
you.
we lost it. That's
Yeah.
fine.
I
We'll get back there.
am captivated because we focus so much as a society on reactive things, post-nut clarity. But to your point, it's pre-nut delusion.
Mm-hmm. I was at one of her shows
Delusion.
when she opened for Best Selling, and she was telling a joke about, and she goes, whatever the opposite of post-nut clarity is. And I was just sitting there pretty toasted at the time and just go, pre-nut delusion.
Oh, I forgot that. That's
Yeah.
like in the whole
That's in
clip
the
and
zeitgeist
everything.
now,
Yeah.
yeah.
She responded.
Yeah, it was
Pretty
pretty.
good.
It was my
Pre-nut
shining moment,
delusion.
actually, in comedy.
I think
so.
it's a really good shining moment. You got to build on
Thank
this,
you.
dog.
I mean, really and truly, though, I'm going to start a whole, wear line.
At
We'll
least
have,
a
we'll have
crypto
shorts,
coin.
T-shirts,
Pre-nut delusion.
sweatshirts. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the next male loneliness epidemic.
Oh
That's
yeah.
nice.
Instead of the comfort sweatshirt line and everything, the pre-nut delusion line. It's super comfy, so that you can be delusional in comfort before you nut.
I would buy this crypto. If this
Did
was
you say
a coin.
I do
crypto?
Yeah, if
think
this
it's
is a
important to
coin,
raise awareness.
I mean, really and truly, though, it is an epidemic facing men today. I mean, look at the cause of incels and everything.
Well, epidemic
alike.
is, I think, a stretch. It's just part of your DNA, right? Biology. To
Don't
need
attack us
to
like that.
Whoa,
release.
that was
Don't
crazy
attack
to
us like
say
that.
Okay,
We can
well,
go back
you know
to
what
the
I was
Virgo
doing
talk.
is I was really
Finally,
what
I
was
got
doing
another man on the pod.
What I was
won't let
doing
Catherine do that
is
thing.
I was honestly, as I stay, we discuss it in therapy weekly. I stay giving y'all an out.
Shut
really trying to give y'all a whole line, a whole leash in terms of like why you act the way you do. I was really trying to let y'all have that, but if you want to call it an epidemic, then we're gonna need a solution. Y'all are gonna need to get your shit together.
And
No?
if it's
You're
an
not
epidemic,
wrong. like
If it's an epidemic, shouldn't it be like some sort of like vaccine shot for it?
Castration?
Yeah, we'd love that.
Or
We'd
instead
love
of
that.
a vaccine shot, maybe it's just like a Hennessy shot? Or like maybe a whiskey shot? It's like, oh,
a
man.
Hennessy shot and a pair of pre-nut delusion sweats.
I don't know that sweats is the appropriate. Yeah, I don't know that that's. I mean,
Look,
for
man.
in the house only.
Yeah, no, this
Okay.
is an outside activity.
Okay. I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
no.
We don't need the pre-nut.
Look, you don't solve the world's problems out there.
Sweats.
Okay, you solve them in here.
We're off to an interesting start today.
You brought the wrong person on the podcast. Sorry.
Or the right one. We'll see. I don't know. I really don't know yet. We'll find out.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, we'll discuss male biology at a later time.
We don't have to.
And or excuses for behavior. Okay. We are here to discuss the Beyond Bars actual topic of conversation, which is crime news, I suppose, and history with the carceral system more specifically. We've got a guest with us today that is, in fact, a personal friend of mine, which is why he's so openly discussing pre-nut status. We've known each other for a minute. He is a excellent, do you like the term mixologist? Is a bar operator?
No,
Like, what's your specific?
I'm a
Because
bar
I know
and
there's,
restaurant operator, pretty
Okay.
much.
but also a
I
fantastic
prefer the term
cocktail maker.
coctologist.
Whoa.
I meant the fuck you do.
I got
bet
a
you
PhD
do.
in coctology.
Coctologist.
No, like
Jesus Christ.
somebody
Holy
calling
fuck.
themselves a mixologist is like, oh god, like an open micer calling themselves like
A headline.
A touring
yeah,
comedian.
yeah, like
Yeah.
or like they say they sell out arenas. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's just you're just kind of spouting off and saying, oh
It's
yeah,
pomp and circumstance.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's when a really
For-
shitty janitor is like, I'm a custodial engineer.
yeah, exactly. No, somebody who just mops floors saying I'm an engineer for nuclear plants.
Oh, man.
No, I know we don't. I don't like the term either, but I wanted to know what you bar
Yeah,
operator,
no,
and I
yeah.
also do want to shout out that you make fantastic drinks.
Thank
you.
you,
Make fantastic
thank you.
cocktails. You run cocktail menus. You help places open with cocktail menus and
Mm-hmm.
then redesign stuff. You do like the consulting aspect of this as
Yeah,
well. If
yeah.
It,
I
if it
mean,
were my
I
eyes on what you
generally
do.
just operate restaurants is what I've been doing for the last few years.
Yeah, I could tell you have like you got this bartendery type of welcoming love, and like I know a lot about the world. Like, 'cause I was on the phone with a lady, and apparently she was a coctologist. Like, I didn't think that term existed.
Different type of coctologist.
And we don't want to differentiate because
no, absolutely, coctology is coctology,
and then everybody has earned their degree.
All coctologists
have earned their degree.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, a mixologist. If you call yourself a mixologist, you're just not, because it's not a real thing. You're a bartender.
We are just mixing drinks.
No, I think it's actually 1,000%.
I think it's actually pejorative.
But mixing drinks is a small fraction of like what we do,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
Like it's theorizing, organization, but it's also like guest experience. It's creating an experience for people. It's being a therapist, a comedian, manager, all of these things.
But I think mixologists are actually not those things. I think that they're a little high and mighty on their mixing of drinks, and they rarely actually do like the customer service.
Yeah, mixologists have giant mustaches and the vests and the suspenders and all the flair
and the attitude of actually what I'm doing is more important than providing a service to people that could do this at home but choose to come to my venue instead.
Like, a bartender is somebody. For me, you're a dream maker and an educator all at the same time, right?
Wow.
Well, no, true. Like for me, people have always been like, "What's your favorite drink to make?" And I say, whatever is going to expand someone's horizons, brighten their day, or just get them through whatever bullshit they're going through in that moment, right? Like, because sometimes I'm sitting there and you could just tell it's have a drink right now or jump off the DeSalle Bridge, right? Some people are like, oh, this one guy told me about this one thing, and I think I know everything now. And having that finesse of just being like, well, let's expand upon that. Let me teach you and educate you as to why that thing's that way, and then it'll make you go and learn and blah, blah, blah. It's gaining trust. It's all of that stuff. And then it's also just someone wants to get drunk and not taste the alcohol. You do that too,
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I've said this before on this podcast. I think I've said it to you too. I think everybody should work restaurant service or retail. One of the two. You see the worst sides of people.
It should be like the
Army. Everybody should have to. I also don't think everybody's qualified to be a bartender. Like a server host also is involved in that. Like a bartender, to your point, it's like there's a level of emotional intelligence that I think should be required to have to interface with someone that you're serving drinks to. Like, and maybe having a full conversation with, maybe acting as like a therapist. Just not, and maybe what it should is a stretch, but like providing the space for people to just like relax outside of the home is not for everyone. I
mean, it's funny that I became a bartender again, because previous to that I was a drug dealer. It's basically the same thing. I'm selling a product. I am creating a welcoming environment so you buy that product and continue to come to me for said product, and then I'm upselling you on either other products or more product or all of those things. And I mean, I don't know how many people in this room have been drug dealers, but people don't like to people love to sit on your couch and talk, so it's the same thing as like sitting at a bar.
So a direct follow-up to that. Do you think, like, obviously, like alcohol, like being a bartender is not drug dealing and that it's legal in the U.S. Do you think, obviously alcohol is also classified as a drug. Do you think it's as dangerous as other drugs? What is it that like either separates those two things to you, or are they the same and now you're just doing it legally?
I think there's a huge duality to it. I think that there's levels, right? You've got your dive bar, party, club bartenders that your whole goal is to just get people fucked up so they don't look at the bill, so they tip you more. Then there's like being a cocktail bartender, that is you're shaping an experience, but you're also there's art to it, right? There's study, there's history, there's a shit ton of fucking alchemy and science and chemistry and all this stuff that goes into it. Like, I could sit here and talk to you for 5 hours about the molecules that go in and how shaking a cocktail one way and using a certain type of ice, all that type of shit, all ties into the end effect of something. So I think that it is as bad as a lot of other things, because we've seen the effects of alcohol throughout human history, right? But I also think that there is a beauty and art into it. Take chefs, for example, right? Most restaurant food is terrible for you.
True.
But fuck, does it taste
Vegetable
delicious,
oil,
right?
Sugars.
Yeah, exactly. Right now, there are chefs that can do it in a very healthy way, the same way that mocktails, low ABV cocktails are super prevalent and popular these days, right? But at the end of the day, you have to take the good with the bad, and it is your duty as, you know, somebody who works behind a bar to balance the two, not let people get overserved, or be able to look at someone and be like, okay, you started with a fucking straight up martini right off the bat. And, you know, maybe we need to, and I'm just kidding. I just know you love martinis.
I do love my teeny time.
But no.
You have a term.
We do.
Martini time, yeah.
No, she called it teeny time.
Oh, she called it teeny time.
Teeny time's way cuter.
Tuesday teeny time?
To your point, we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
But I do teenies to a degree in moderation now, because it's like, I mean, one is also an aggressive drink. Like I don't drink espresso martinis because I think that's liquid cocaine. At the very least, that's its impact on me. I understand that I will alienate my whole white woman base by saying that, but that is how I respond to them. Yeah. So we'll come back to it. But yes, I do.
I think it's a big thing, right? Like
from time to time.
80% of drinkers out there don't know how to drink. Right.
That's
I have
fair.
so many people that are close to me that are exactly this. They're like, I love martinis. And it's like, okay, you have 1.5 though, and now you're crying. Right. So, you know, understanding how the alcohol affects your body, all of the other factors, all of those other types of things. Like at the end of the day, also, people are responsible for themselves. You know, so you have to have a certain level of understanding of that.
I have a follow-up question, and then we'll get into obviously the drug dealing component and, you know, your experience with the carceral system. But while we're talking about a drug which, you know, has been criminalized over history at times, and is, you know, then we move through obviously the prohibition phases, and now we're legalizing it. And I have very interesting, consistent like questions and curiosity around drugs, alcohol, everything in this country, because there's a degree of, I feel like, it's legality so that we stay a bit numb, like as a populace, and also of any kind of drug, including like weed now. But there's also like the human need to take the fucking edge off. And like
1,000%.
Obviously as a yoga teacher, I would offer and propose that there are many ways to do that. Sobriety, I think, does fit for a lot of people and is necessary for a lot of people, but I don't know. It's like, there's a degree, we've talked about this before when Julian was on the pod, about like wanting to be bad. There's like ways to do that potentially in moderation. There's the idea of everything in moderation, including moderation. You got to burn some stuff sometimes to like turn a new page. I don't know. I'm curious of that. And then I have one more follow-up question.
I think, and not to get like too philosophical right from the jump, but we grow up, right? And to deal with problems, you see almost always alcohol is the solution. We're not given tools as children, right? Like I was in therapy as a kid for years and I didn't really give a fuck about it. I mean, 25 years later, I'm like, oh shit, there's a lot to, you know, extrapolate from that. But, you know, like you see your mom go and buy that $4 gas station bottle of wine and it's like, mom, it's mommy time, you know? So like as kids, you grow up and you're conditioned from a young age, whether it's through commercials, whether it's through billboards, through your own home life, through all of these other types of things of like, oh, this is the simple solution. Now, you're always warned, oh, it always has to be in moderation. You can't go too hard. You can't go too fast, all of those types of things. But you're never taught anything else unless you got super fucking lucky and have like Freud as a parent or something like that. But you watch other people deal with their problems and adults deal with their problems, and all of a sudden you become an adult and then you start drinking and they're like, this is just fun. Makes me more social. Makes me feel cooler. It makes me funnier. I just have a great time because it feels great, right? And then all of a sudden you go through some life shit and you're like, oh, cool. Yeah. It also helps me not, you know, put a gun in my mouth.
Also, generation
You know
over generation. I think millennials
Yeah.
is alcohol. I think our parents like taught us that was okay. I think we've realized that it's poison. I think we're working through like the balance of moderation around that, much like cigarettes for like their parents to them. But like there is always that generation on generation. Like this, I think this generation,
Well,
Gen
I
Z
think
is going to be vaping
a big part,
and
right,
like all
is
of that. They're
look
going to
at
be like, this is
look
fine.
at the
It's not fine.
1880s to like the 1920s, right? Shit show. Everybody's drunk. You know, like there's alcohol is so prevalent in just everyday life. Then you have prohibition. Then for the following 20, 30 years, alcohol is kind of vilified and ostracized in society. If you look at, you know, the emergence of like conservatism and all of these other things, and religion and the prevalence of that in like the 50s and the 60s, and you know the building of like the middle class and everything. It's like, yeah, you had like the dad who'd come home hammered and, you know, punch his wife in the face because his dinner was cold. I mean, it's true. You hear stories. I mean, look, I'm just saying, but then right, it got under control. It got under control in like the 70s and the 80s because getting help for alcoholism was so much more accessible, right? Then you have, your 70s, 80s, 90s where it becomes kind of that crutch again, and then you have these giant conglomerate corporations taking over the production of alcohol, and they don't give a fuck about the repercussions. All they care about is the bottom line. So then as we move on and we grow up, now we're in our 30s and we're like, yeah, alcohol is fine. How many friends do you know that are sober? Because they grew up and alcohol was fine and it was everywhere and it's on every magazine and everything like that, right? You go a little too hard, now you don't get to have any fun anymore, right? So I think that there's a kind of like, not an ebb and flow, but oh God, I don't know the word I'm looking for here, but there are periods where it's going to be prevalent and then non-prevalent. Gen Z.
There's overcorrection on
Yeah, exactly. Gen
everything.
Z, alcohol intake has decreased by like 20% in the last 4 or 5 years. But the marijuana intake has increased like tenfold.
And vaping is
vaping
500-fold.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
vaping super prevalent.
Yeah, mushrooms.
All of these things. So you're finding alternatives.
Molly.
Yeah, you're finding alternatives. So before we didn't have a lot of that stuff, and a lot of that stuff wasn't accessible and like societally accepted. But now, it's 2025. There's 1,000 ways to deal with your problems that aren't just, ripping shots. None of them, some of them constructive, some of them unconstructive, but
yeah,
whatever your
I think one of the
bag is.
earliest memes I remember is that Homer Simpson one that was like, alcohol is the cause of and solution to all of life's problems.
Alcohol is the cause and the solution of every issue I have in my life.
And I have been, and this is not to tout me, but I do want to like note it in case anyone's listening to this, like, I've been trying to manage my alcohol, like the Reframe app I have, and it's been very helpful for me because it's like a cutback app, and like I think we all, maybe not we all, I won't put this on y'all, I have been working to drink less and certainly do like year over year, and I want like to have under a certain number of drinks per week. You can like manage that. Do you hit your goal? Every day it gives you like little readings about like what alcohol does to your body, especially if like it's over consumed, because much like any other substance or food or sugar or whatever, like everything you put in your body or on your body or exist in the environment like changes your body composition
1,000%.
and your pH and all that stuff. So it's not just alcohol, but it shows you that if you have like periods of prolonged consumption and things like that it actually does, of course, mess with your nervous system, the neural pathways, like your connections to joy and your connections to be able to bounce back and like keep it a more depressed state. And because alcohol spikes your
dopamine.
Yep. So fast and so high, then like the reason that when you try to like cut back or whatever, it takes a while to sort of restore that level of dopamine is the crash feels so low compared to like it's just very polar. So
the anxiety.
Yeah. So I take breaks every once in a while to like reset that too. And like Reframe has really helped me do that. So just like a note to anyone out there.
I think that is awesome that we have solutions like that are just like right on our phone. I think a huge part is the education of like how you drink, how you consume alcohol, right? Like, not to nerd out for a second, but for example, drinking something with soda water is going to get you more inebriated than drinking something with just water. It's not going to change the taste at all. It's just going to feel a little bit more sparkly in your mouth, right? So like gin and sodas are going to affect you differently than like a gin and water, or understanding the ABV of certain alcohols that you now have mocktails, you have low ABV cocktails, all of those things. So you can still get the social benefits. You can still be in the environments and all of those things, and you don't have to feel like the guy drinking water at the bar because you just like to have a little too much fun, right?
Yeah.
So I think educating yourself about how you intake these things into your body and how they affect you personally, like me, for example, not a good example, but like I only drink alcohol, like spirits straight, right? But I do so because I know exactly what I'm putting into my body. I drink certain products, all of those types of things. And I also I know my limits, and I know that, you
are a literal professional.
Yeah, but no, it's true. But like, even as a professional, I've gotten way too fucking drunk way too many times, right? But like understanding, I didn't eat, I had terrible sleep, I am on medication, all of these other types of things. What type of environment am I in? Is everybody around me getting fucked up? Are we drinking cocktails? All of those things. So all of those factors go into making a decision of how you experience alcohol. And at the end of the day, again, it's between you and the bartender, but a lot of it is on you and your understanding, or at the very least, your openness to ask the questions to the bartender, to educate yourself of being like, hey, these factors are currently prevalent in my life. I'd love to have a drink. I just need to take the edge off. maybe a straight up martini isn't the answer, right? Maybe like an old classic low ABV cocktail made with like a 12% Amaro and make it sweet or something like that is the answer, because I can have 2 of those and it's equal to a quarter of a martini. So, because the worst thing about alcohol is just like any other drug. Once you get a little bit of it in there and you get that dopamine hit, you're just like,
yeah, you want to keep it going.
Yeah, exactly.
So on the personal note, my last question is one that I think we've talked about before, and I find is very highly refuted by bartenders, but you did say you kind of like know what works for you, know your limits.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with or disagree with the fact that certain alcohols affect certain people differently? As in, some people are like, I can't drink tequila, or rum makes me a kind of way, whiskey makes me angry, wine makes me emotional. Like, are those things real? Are they experiential based, or is there a combo?
There's a part of it that's real. For example, you said for 10 years, I don't drink rum because
I also don't drink rum.
When
I don't like rum.
When I was 19 years old, I drank 50 ounces of rum in 20 minutes, right? And then I ended up sleeping on a banister. How?
Of course you
don't
did.
know. And then I woke up and 2 young women were using me as a chair. Not in a fun way either. I was just like, what the fuck, where am I?
Not in a cool way.
Yeah, not in a really cool way. But but taking those things into consideration, right? Like whiskey has certain components, right? The same way that tequila has certain components and sugars and all of those things. In my opinion, if you want to take one thing away to teach you about alcohol, sugar's the devil.
And alcohol breaks down into sugar, right?
It's
this
that,
is the bartender's defense
yes.
for it doesn't affect no alcohol affects you differently because every alcohol breaks down to a sugar in your body. That's what I've heard before.
Yeah, so it's part of that, right? Like, I think there is truth to that. I think that because also certain spirits have certain levels of alcohol concentration, right? Also, some of them taste so much better and go down easier. So I think there are 25 other factors,
like the quality.
Yeah, the quality.
Yeah,
like for example, Casamigos is dog shit tequila, and I will say that
because the agave is dog shit.
So like to be 100% agave, Blue Weber agave spirit, it has to have less than 51%, or it has to have at least 51% natural sugars, right? Well, with the boom of tequila, now all of these like celebrity tequilas, all of those things have somewhere up to like 75, 80%, and it's just added sugars, right? So now you're drinking something like Don Julio. Women love it because it's sweet and it's great and it tastes so good and it goes down so smooth. Yeah, but it also gets you drunk, more inebriated because your body converts all of those sugars faster and all of these other factors that go into it, and then it's so sweet. So now instead of taking 1 shot an hour, you've taken 3 shots in an hour. And then you wonder when you take another 3 shots in the next hour why you're shit-faced and puking on the bathroom floor crying. Nice. You know, so
okay.
I
What's
think,
a good tequila, by the way?
I mean, there's
Put
so many.
On.
Fortaleza is fantastic, but the production is fucking them right now. Actually, you know what? Cascajuin, Arete, and basically any small batch tequila producers, right?
Fortaleza is like reasonably medium batched, right? Like that's a name I recognize.
Oh no, Fortaleza became like the most popular tequila in the world. But now there's 6-month buy on production, so they did like a Blanton's thing where now the prices skyrocket, super hard to get. It's like a collector's item, things like that. But I mean, honestly, so go to a shitty dive bar or go to any bar, right? But any bar that's more like fast casual in volume, ask them what their well tequila. If it's something like Juarez or something like that, look up at their tequila section, ask them what their most expensive tequila is. They're about the same. The Juarez has probably been distilled a little lighter, so it's going to have a little bit more of a bite to it, but it's just as good quality juice, in my opinion. So like if I'm at, like down the street from here, if I'm at Kohl's or something like that, and I want to drink tequila, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, you've only got this, so I'm going to drink that. I'm just like, give me your shittiest, cheapest tequila, because usually...
you don't have the good...
No, but usually it's just as good or bad for me as any of the other good stuff, right? But that's also because I love tequila. I've got an agave plant tattooed on me, so
that's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Olay.
So this has turned into an alcohol podcast now.
Well, I mean, let's talk about drugs. You dealt drugs.
I did.
Prior, others anyway. More illegal ones. Tell us what you were doing, what you were selling, when you got caught, what happened from there.
So it all started. So I was kind of just always like a hustler. I was, so like in 3rd grade, I would get in trouble because on Wednesdays, so the teachers would buy chalk for the kids, right, to go out and play during recess. On Wednesdays, we'd run out of chalk. I noticed this, and I said, oh, okay. So I would stay out on the playground, collect all the chalk, and then I'd sell it. You know what I mean? So I was doing stuff like that from the age of like 6 years old. My mom used to tell stories about how I'd come home and she'd be like, you left with your shittiest toy and came back with 2 others. Like, what the fuck did you do? And I'm like, I don't know, just go in, right?
Trade it out.
So like in
Dwight
high
at
school,
the sale.
I sold booze and a little bit of weed, and I had like an Adderall prescription, things like that. And I
Nice.
never like thought about it as like drug dealing. I was just like, I want lunch money. I want my chicken nuggets and my ice cream before school with Martha, because that was the closest relationship I had in high
Where
school.
were you getting the alcohol and drugs?
So the alcohol,
Not names, but-
I had a friend's older brother, and my grandpa just had a massive liquor collection. I would just steal it. I was a bad kid. Broken home, divorce, all that. But so then, I sold a little bit of weed in like high school and college. Then I had an accident where I almost lost my leg. So I had to get like 30% of my lower leg removed and had to reteach myself how to walk. I was in bed for 8 months, all that type of shit, right? So I went from having a job.
A drug dealing related accident?
Nope, not at all.
Okay.
I was actually working like an actual job.
Okay.
So
would you look at that?
I know,
Fucking
right?
9 to 5.
yeah,
huh?
yeah,
See?
yeah.
They'll fucking kill you.
It will. So then, like, workman's comp got denied, and yep, I got fucked by the system from the
You
jump.
lost some of your fucking leg and you got denied?
I mean, dude, there's a scar about that big on it, and it's all deformed.
Well,
And yeah,
that-
so how much percent of your fucking leg do you have to lose?
probably 32.
Fucking A.
No. So I'm in bed for all these months, right? Like my grandpa's helping me like pay my bills and all this stuff. I'm in my like early-ish 20s, and then I'm selling weed to get by, make rent, that type of stuff. And a buddy hits me up and is like, "Hey, do you know anybody who can get any blow?" And I was just like, I mean, at this point I'd never done cocaine. I mean, I'd prodigy of ADD and ADD medication, so I've always done Adderall, all of that type of stuff. But I was like, you know what? I might know a guy. Let me make a phone call. So I made a phone call, and in 2 hours I made $800, and I was like,
Ooh, make you jump in the
interesting.
game.
I was like, interesting. And then like I just reached out to some people who I like sold weed to, or just friends I had, and was just like, hey, do you know anybody who would be interested in drugs? And to my surprise, everyone was. So I found a good connect, and it just kind of like went from there. Then did that for a couple years. I kind of expanded my operation. I started working for some not so desirable individuals, and everything was actually going pretty great. I'll be honest with you, making a ton of money. And
How old were you?
Like when I got caught, or when I started?
When things were going pretty, just at this time.
Like 22 to 26,
Okay.
something like that.
When it's a lot more manageable, by the way, to deal with difficult people. Like I feel like my capacity to deal with bullshit and people that I don't actually fuck with, it just diminishes every year. But in my 20s, it's like, fuck it.
I mean, I will also say making a
They're
ton
making
of money
that way. They're at the
and
party.
I mean,
whatever.
we were always at the
Like,
party. We were going to the bar every night.
Yeah.
I always was able to take care of the bill. I got to travel. I got a ton of free drugs, and I mean, don't do
Yeah.
drugs, but drugs are sick.
Yeah, I never push it, but shit, if you doing
no,
it,
exactly,
share
right?
it
So like,
together.
it was a fun time. Like let's be real. And then so it was November of 2018. I rented a car to go to Colorado for Thanksgiving, I think it was, and I got the car, went back to my house. And I just ran downstairs to grab my suitcase, and I was going to go pick up my homie, and then we were going to head out to Colorado for Thanksgiving, have a little Thanksgiving, because I had a bunch of friends out in Colorado. I come back upstairs, the car's gone. Yeah. So rental car companies don't tell you that they leave spare keys in the center console. At least a 23-year-old, 24-year-old kid does it. Or actually, at this point, I think I'm 25.
I didn't know
I was
that.
going to say, I think you had to be 25.
I,
so you
I'm,
have to
at
be
this
to
point, I'm 25,
rent a
26.
car.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that, right? So I come back, and my first thought was, fuck. Second thought was, damn, my cool jacket was in there. Like, I specifically remember that. So then I was like, okay, reported it stolen, did the whole thing, filled out the paperwork, blah, 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 rented another car, went to Colorado. It is probably it's February of the next year. And so the night before, I usually never did my own runs. I never had drugs on me. And if I did, it was either a small amount or a very, very large amount because I'm the only person I trusted to do something with it. So I was coming back from Indianapolis and I was sick. I had like 102-degree fever, all this shit. So usually I would have gone and dropped it off somewhere, gone to my house. I said, fuck it. I'll just do it in the morning. It's 4 in the fucking morning. I'm not dealing with this right now. So I went home, chugged a bunch of NyQuil. Took a Xanax and went to bed. And I woke up to cops banging on my door. And my dog's going insane. At this time, I have this giant cane corso, and she's just going nuts. So I go up there and I go, hey, is this about the rental car? And they're like, yeah. And I go, okay, let me meet you in the front. Let me like put my dog away. I have pajamas on, a quarter zip with no shirt on it. Wasn't even wearing underwear. Didn't have my glasses on. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I just got awoken, right? And I'd maybe had like 3 hours of sleep. So still on the effects of NyQuil and Xanax. So I go open the front door. What I didn't know is my roommate at the time was just a good buddy of mine, right? We'd lived together for 7 years or so. Shout out Brian Eads, my heterosexual life mate. But he'd gone to work that morning and he just like smoked a bowl and put it on the mantle, which the mantle is like, if this is the front door, the mantle's right there, right? So I open the front door and a cop looks over my shoulder and just goes, is that a marijuana smoking device? And I go, what? And then he's like, yeah, we're going to have to freeze your house, place you under arrest. And then so I just turned around, put my arms behind my back and said, all right, I'm fucked. So they froze my house. And
just wait because they saw the
probable cause.
So
all I need is the littlest thing in order to do the biggest shit.
So they froze my house. 40 fucking cops show up. They had me in interrogation for 18 hours. Dogs, everything. And I told them where everything was. I knew I was fucked. I knew that I didn't do what I should have done. I knew I had guns.
But I ain't gonna lie, bro. You know better than to bring that shit to the crib.
Yes, I do. But also, no. You're look. Biggest regret and biggest thank you to myself I've ever had, though. You know what I'm saying? It was the worst and best day of my life, right? Because at that point, I'd just gotten to the point where, like you could just tell people are looking at me. People know who I am. I'm either going to prison or I'm getting shot. And I wasn't even I wasn't gangbanging. I wasn't
a lot of people think that the only reason they go back or they get like set to the side like that is for a spiritual universal reason. And it sounds really weird, but when I talk to people, they're like, yo, I was moving so fast and I was living so fast. Had I not been in that position, I would have crashed out in the worst way. Maybe it could have led to sad time.
Everybody that comes out like you is like getting caught is like the only way. It's where it ends.
It was the best thing that ever happened to me because I guess you could say full in like addiction. I mean, I didn't think I was in addiction because I was not using that heavily, but like I was smoking weed all the time. I was drinking all the time. I'd use Xanax freely. I was doing
about
cocaine.
Your resources, right? You got so much money and so much access. When would you ever really sit down and stop?
Well, no, 1,000%. I wouldn't have. Like, it would have been that like moment. Like, I like the only thing that I imagined was it would have steamballed into like that moment in Blow where he's fucking his daughter's being born and he's grabbing the bag and trying to fucking like do Blow. You know what I mean? Like, it would have been that. I would have gone to federal prison. Or I would have gotten shot by somebody who's just like, who's this white dude in an Audi living in a $500,000 house? You know what I mean?
That was the part of Weeds. Remember that show? That I was like, fuck, this
I
show's
liked
fucking.
Show.
I hated that show. I was like, this bitch should be dead.
I really
like that show went on way too long.
No, 1,000%.
And like, and that was the thing was that
for who she was in that show. I know there was like a couple of scrapes, but I was like,
I will say this.
Yeah, some seasons she was
getting I was able to move in the way that I was though because like when I first started singing that I looked and I said, okay, who do I want to sell this to? Do I want to be fucking dealing with crackheads at my back door at 2 a.m.? So I only agreed to, sell to college kids because I was in the town where Notre Dame is. So, you have a huge concentration of wealth. Doctors, lawyers, businessmen, people like that. Like
well-off people.
Yeah. Right?
Not
like everybody loves Blow. Everybody loves Blow. Let's be real. And I was a white dude in Sperry's in a fucking Audi living on Notre Dame Avenue, and it was easy. And the people that I sold to were all these like white kids who were like on scholarship but came from like good areas and blah, blah, you know what I mean? Like there was never this element of danger in buying drugs from me, and there never was, and I think that's why I had so much success. But yeah, so that happens. They find luckily, not as much as I nearly ever would have had. I only had 2 ounces on me, but I had like 1,000 Xanax and like 2 pounds of weed and like 4 guns and a fully automatic AR and like 25 grand in cash and
fuck.
yeah.
You had the whole.
So here's the thing though. Usually
a
nothing
real
at my house but personal use and like weed and stuff like that. And everything was in this giant safe and all that type of stuff, right? So like I was doing it in the way that I logically thought was like the smart way. But yes, I turned around, put my hands behind my back and said, okay, cool. I need to call my lawyer. So they dropped the Fed charges and they dropped the gun charges. And
What the fuck?
So I called my lawyer and basically I got bailed out. I did.
Were the guns illegal? Because you can buy guns
they were
all over
all
Indiana.
they were
Yeah.
all
The
legally
gun
owned.
shows
So
and
Indiana.
everything.
they were all legally
Indiana,
owned.
you can have.
Yeah, no, I mean
Indiana.
like but they were in their eyes used in the commission
Criminal.
of a crime.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like,
Technically not,
I'm like,
but
you mean
potentially,
blowing up a
yeah.
fridge with tannerite in my friend's backyard? Yeah, definitely a crime. Actually, I think that is legal, but I digress.
Explosives, maybe.
So
but,
I called my lawyer who got me out of a weed charge when I was 15, who's my buddy's dad, and was like, how much is this going to cost to make me not go to prison?
Oh,
And I go, what do we do?
How much did it cost?
I think at the end of the day it was like initially like 25 grand, and if we took it to trial, it was gonna be like 150 or something like that. But I go,
Without it being federal?
but again, I said, what is it going to cost for me not to go to jail? And he goes, well, that's one, a long shot. 2, let's take a look at it, right? And this is kind of where my story becomes one more of like privilege than anything else.
I was gonna say, where'd you get that money?
Well,
Well,
drug
shit,
dealing. Drug
the
dealing.
motherfucker was up.
Well, I didn't know if they took it.
They took cash that was in my house, but like, you know.
Yeah.
He had that stash.
But
That boy in
it's
the
a fair
Artie.
ask.
500K house now. He got that bread.
I mean,
somewhere.
I was doing okay, right? So I said, what do I do? And he goes, okay, you're a drug addict. And I go, no, I'm not. And he goes,
Yes, you
he
are.
goes, I'm sorry,
Yes.
you're a drug addict. And I go, yes, I am. And he goes, and what does a drug addict do when they want to get help? And I go, tell me. And he goes, you're going to rehab. So I just went to rehab the next day as soon as I got out of jail. So I went to rehab. I did like a whole aftercare program.
Wait,
all
you were
this
in
stuff.
jail for how long?
I was only in jail for
Motherfucker
5 days.
made you a victim.
Actually, the
You're held?
worst part
They
was
let you out of jail to go to rehab?
no, they let me out of jail because I posted bond.
Yeah, because he paid his
yeah.
bread, but he used his freedom to go
Yeah.
to rehab,
Yeah.
which is the tricky lawyer.
Trust me, and it was Tony's last case,
Also,
and he
you
was about
probably
to
were
retire.
a bit of an addict.
Oh, I was. 1,000%.
No,
1,000%.
If not a
No,
big
no.
of an- I'm
No,
just saying
look,
as a
look,
good, like,
1,000%.
human
I was
move
an
to-
addiction because
yeah.
it wasn't that I was just like addicted to cocaine. It wasn't that I was an
The
alcoholic.
dopamine and all
it was
of
that
that
I was a
shit.
dopamine addict,
Yeah.
right? Like, I was
Substance
addicted
abuser.
to the lifestyle,
Yeah.
right? So immediately I get out of, and all right, so to back up, to show the actual ignorance and privilege that I had was, I'm in front of the judge to get bail, and the judge starts like reading off all this shit. And I'm just like, and she's like, do you have anything to say? And I was just like, I'm just so sorry. I'm regretful of my decisions, all of these types of things. And like, given the opportunity, like I never meant for this to happen. Given the opportunity, I'd love to correct my ways, blah, blah, blah. And she just looked at me and like laughed and goes, what the fuck with all of this? Like, are you kidding me? And then just like gave me my bail. I don't remember exactly what she said. I just remember sitting there and like looking back, and this like 50-year-old black dude's just laughing at me. And I was just like, yeah, I am. I'm probably cooked here. So posted bail, went to rehab.
Were you sorry at the time?
I was sorry I got caught.
Yeah.
Right, because in my mind, I'd never hurt anybody. I was never robbing anybody. I wasn't stealing. I was just good.
So
I was
that's a
good at
question I was
business.
gonna ask
I was
later.
good at business, right? Like, no, I mean, that was always kind of my viewpoint as a criminal, if you will. Is I was like, I'm not negatively affecting society, right? Like, I was. Not to say I was a morally just drug dealer, but like, if all of a sudden I'm seeing somebody come and pick up from me or somebody else like little too much, I'm like, yo, you're cut off. You need to figure some life stuff out. This isn't just like Friday night going out with the boys. It's a Tuesday at 3 p.m. and you're like a mailman. You know what I mean? So
Man, need an 8-ball middle of the week, baby.
He do. No, but so
I mean, to your point, though, I would argue as a consistent through line of this podcast for me, at least, that I get called out on social all the time for like my privilege. But I would argue that we are all more morally flexible than many people are willing to admit.
1,000%.
Justifying
no,
whether it's like working corporate and working for that blood money or working for like whatever.
And for me, right, like I thought I wasn't doing anything wrong. I mean, I knew what I was doing was a crime. I knew it was illegal, right? But I wasn't, I wasn't out there killing people for their drugs or their money, right? I wasn't robbing people. I wasn't stealing. I wasn't, like out there what I thought would be categorized as committing crime, right?
And of course, drugs do hurt people, but
they,
at the time,
do.
I understand.
They do.
That's why I was asking.
Here's my thing was like my rationale was like if I know you have kids or like if I know, like you have a drug problem or this or that, right? I'd be like, sorry. Yeah. Like if you're coming in and doing like crackhead type shit, I'm like, no, I'm sorry, you can get the fuck out of my house.
Even the professions that you mentioned, it's tough to not be able to find money to eat if you're a lawyer, but if you work at a supermarket and you're addicted to blow, you might miss a couple fucking meals because you want to get high.
Well, and I think
like you use a term in yoga about like doing as little harm as possible.
Ahimsa, it's nonviolence technically, but yeah, I mean the way that I interpret it is like do less harm and or do more good to counter the harm that we're all going to do. And
that's one of the things I see in all of your approaches, no matter if you're selling liquor or if you're selling drugs. You have a morality that I think you've seen.
I have a rationality. There's a little bit of a difference.
You don't think that you have moral fiber?
I think that I do have moral fiber, but I think in many, many, many cases I rationalized it as moral fiber, when in reality it was more of like me trying to be calculative and avoid difficulties later, right?
So you didn't do right.
I
didn't do it for the right of right. You did it because
he's a kid
it's
also.
better.
No,
early 20s,
you're not wrong. Look,
a child.
The
only reason I bring up that drugs do hurt people is sometimes I also know that I sound so not almost like the maybe so morally flexible sometimes on this podcast. It's like, yeah, but you had to do that. You had to do this. You had to because of conditions. Yeah. And like, I'm not obviously condemning you. You know where you're at, especially now. I know who you are as a person and how, that you're a fully grown, emotionally intelligent adult at this time. But just noting that because I don't actually think that you were like, I don't think that's how you still feel.
No. I think that there was always a place where I was like, well, if I'm not hurting people, it's okay. And I can rationalize what I'm doing and the decisions that I'm making. Because, I mean, that's what we do as humans is to rationalize to get by, right?
Yep.
Like
I see people do this all the time.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Committed relationships treat other people like shit, and other like single situationships like treat other like women in committed relationships treat other men like shit on behalf of their friends because they fucking feel like it because they're bored. And I'm like, it's not any better just because like it's not your romantic partner.
No, exactly. And like I will say I regret many things. I regret getting into it in the first place. I don't regret the times I had doing it because fuck. But I regret getting caught but I also don't regret it because I would say even if I didn't go down that path, if I didn't get caught, none of that had ever happened, right? I wouldn't have become the person I am today. I wouldn't have learned the lessons. I wouldn't have gone through the struggles and all of these things. So, I mean, I had a fucked up childhood, but like I grew up in privilege. You know what I mean? Like my mom's a corporate tax accountant. My grandpa's rich. Like, I went to private school my whole life, like I had a convertible as my first car. So like I never wanted for anything. So, I would never have learned the lessons that I did learn if I had not gone through the experiences that I did, right?
How was rehab? Did you learn anything there?
No. Oh my God. Rehab is
rehab was that hard?
Rehab might be the dumbest thing I've ever done. So like it wasn't that. Like I will say this, and it ties into like the justice system as well. You're not given the tools. You are vilified and you are told you're a bad person.
In rehab?
And you need God
that kind of
to get yourself back, right? It goes back into that.
Oh, you need God. Okay.
Yeah, right. It goes into the whole 12 steps. Well, no. It goes into the whole 12-step thing and all that type of stuff, right? Like we're sitting there, and I remember I was sitting there, and it was like a group session, and I asked this lady, I go, "Have you ever been addicted to drugs?" I go, "Do you know what it's like to suck dick for crack?" And Well, because I was also a punk. I'm fucking pissed that I'm here, so I'm just causing problems.
Sucking
That is
dick for crack.
That's
is
who
such
I am.
A different level.
No, but that's who I am. That's who I am.
She's
As like a
go
person.
to your room, Max.
But also, there's people in there who are like
100% somebody in a fucking dick.
And look, it's anonymous. I won't say any names, but they just shared that they woke up in a Goodwill deposit box, right? And this woman goes,
the one that you put items in, to
yeah,
donate.
Yep. Yeah.
And they
woke up in it.
too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they tried to donate themselves.
Fuck. It's sad, but it's good.
Yeah.
It's gold. I'm gonna start going to these meetings.
So she looks at us dead in the eyes and goes, one time I had a 2-month period where I couldn't stop smoking marijuana. And I was just like, so you have no idea what any of the people in here are going through.
I've
So
done
This
worse.
is
no
like a
idea.
pretty bad. Was this a South Bend rehab?
Yeah.
I did worse. For
Yeah, no.
pussy.
It was not
Oh my
good. It was
God.
like
South
government
Bend story.
funded. It wasn't like anything like that, right? So
Still wild, especially with the rates of drug addiction and mental health in South Bend specifically, which is the most depressed, highest suicide rates, at least, I don't want to say over a year, but many years in the country, both because Notre Dame is there and the pressures of those college kids and whatever, and because the localized town is actually full of drugs and used to be full of music.
It gets
and-
methy out there.
So it's methy as hell because
Yeah.
we're based off of manufacturing and production, right? So what makes a production or manufacturer work more efficiently? Meth.
12 to
Right.
16
I'm just saying it's
hour
crazy.
shifts.
It's
Yeah.
crazy in a rehab, even a government-sponsored rehab or whatever, in South Bend that you couldn't find someone. I personally know 3 people that were addicted to heroin, alcohol, weed, and I think meth at various
Probably
times. One
meth,
of them's dead. So in South Bend that are from South Bend, and it.
Who? Sorry, I might know.
Yeah, I
it'd be
actually
like
had the
this.
thought
South
when you were
Bend's
talking
small.
about dealing. I was like, we'll get into this at a later
Yeah.
time.
But no, I mean
it's so prevalent that you
growing
have
up there-
someone that got addicted to weed for 2 months leading class. Like that's
yeah,
not
exactly. And she's like the main person.
vibe.
But like growing up, right? I probably went to more funerals for heroin between the ages of 16 and 25 than I have been to funerals ever in my entire life. Right? Like
Yeah.
I'm talking I lost at least 20 friends and even more to just like they just got so deep into addiction, right? Like I mean I had friends who I grew up with who became heroin addicts and then they were clean for 3 or 4 years and something happens and all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, you know what, I'll just do a little line of it and it's a hot shot and boom, now you're dead. And you got better and you had a kid and you did all this shit.
For our friends that don't understand a hot shot, can you explain?
From my understanding, a hot shot is a laced bag of drugs, right? So, these days it would be like cocaine with fentanyl in it or anything with fentanyl, or press pills or anything like that, right? Where even the smallest amount is so concentrated that it immediately will just kill you.
Especially if you've been on a break and your tolerance ain't what it was. You were used to dope that was cut a certain way by a certain dealer on a certain era.
Yeah.
You come back 3 years later, they putting a pinch of fentanyl and shit. This too much for even your older system. So
Yeah, because then they'll dilute the actual heroin down to like 1% or less, and then you throw in maybe 1% of fentanyl, and now it feels like it's the same effect, right? To my understanding, luckily I'm allergic to opiates, so that was probably my saving
how the
grace.
fuck did you do that?
I have God,
Oh, talk about-
even though I
was
don't
gonna say,
believe
talk
in
about
him.
Spiritual intervention.
Yeah, like honestly, I will
Wait,
say if I was not allergic to opiates, I would 1,000% have died of an opiate overdose.
Are you born and raised in Indiana?
Originally from Boston, but for the most part in Indiana, yeah.
I think it's kind of cool because it's like how many opioids kill so many white people. You're born with what you need naturally. It's kind of like when black people are born with sickle cell and they defeat malaria.
Yeah,
It's like
I guess that's a comparison you could use. Yeah,
God looked out.
So
and
like,
said this
yeah.
was making you.
Thank you. Fuck. Yeah, I guess that's one comparison that could be made. But yeah, so
Fix the court.
in rehab, we keep pushing back the court date, all of that type of stuff. And then I had to do like all
How
these
long were you in rehab?
So the whole process of rehab was 28 weeks. Now I'm not in like rehab the whole time, right?
You're
like
like-
I'm allowed to like go home. And it's there's part inpatient and then like most of it was outpatient, right? So I had to go to meetings. I had to do all this shit, and
And it's like NA and AA.
yeah, it's
specific.
NA, AA. You have to go to meetings. You have to go to like their group things. Then you have to take a piss test twice a week with them. Then you've got to go to these night meetings, and like basically it's part of like a pre-trial program type thing that I kept doing after.
Like,
can you stay clean? Can you get your life together?
Every 2 weeks was you doing the all panel?
Twice a week, all panel.
Damn.
Yeah. Also, didn't tell me that my insurance didn't cover it. Didn't tell me that I had to pay for it, and then I got a $10,000 fucking bill 4 years later.
Ain't it beautiful how they tell you to stop making money? How you know how? But wait, we also have some encouragement.
Yeah. So
okay, were you actually clean while that was going on?
So I was clean for 9 months, like fully of everything. Didn't have a drop of alcohol. Didn't smoke weed. Didn't do any of that shit. Right. Again, going into this next story of like once I get sentenced, all of that stuff is where like really the privilege starts to shine. So I get sentenced.
Well, and even just for people listening, I mean, I think most of our listeners are well aware of this, but the fact that you got to pre-trial in rehab and at home versus jail is why like I stand so fundamentally, not necessarily against like I do think like timeouts are warranted, whatever. Like I do think there's a need of checks and balances of when you commit crimes, when you are confused, when you think you're just sorry you get caught. Like you need to take a seat for a minute. What that looks like compared to our prison system today, I think is very different, but especially jail as a holding cell pre-trial and the way we treat humans is versus like the treatment that you were afforded.
I'm a white, educated male with money, so I paid the right lawyer. I did all the things they told me to.
You already had the right lawyer.
It's true. But again, like, speaking to my privilege, like I had that in my circle,
the networking connects with the right people is way more privilege, I think, than money.
1,000%.
You said that was your friend's father, right?
Yeah. Well, like a kid I went to high school.
Father, what the fuck?
So originally I was charged with multiple felonies and was facing 32 years in prison. So
wow,
32.
32. So
how did you feel when you heard that?
Immediately. There was no other thought other than if I go to prison, I'm killing myself first day. Straight up. I'm not doing 30 years. I'm not doing 10 years. I'm not coming out of this in my mid-30s, my 40s, or my 50s and trying to reestablish and get a life, right?
You 100% would have been in your
I'm
50s.
100% I immediately was just like, I will do suicide by guard. I will hang myself. I will walk up to the biggest motherfucker and just be like, here's all the commissary my lovely mommy gave me. Murder me right now.
The man that I was referencing that was dead killed himself for that reason.
Yeah.
By the way.
But everything you just mentioned, like death by guard, these are all like terms that exist because of how crazy the system is.
And I'll say I was in county for a total of 10 days during this whole process, and I mean just South Bend, so St. Joe County, obviously not like as bad as Cook and some other places, right? But
it's real bad.
But there is human rights violations left and fucking right. I mean, I'm hearing stories now. Obviously, there's always you got to take everything with a grain of salt when you're in jail, right? Like everybody's gonna spout off, everybody's gonna talk, all that type of shit. But yeah, I mean, it was just like I saw that and I go, this is jail. That's not prison. Those are two drastically different things. If this is jail, fuck that. I'm not doing prison. I refuse. And I mean, a lot of this stuff also just goes to show like who I was as a person back then. You know what I mean? Like my biggest frustration was that I had to go from making, sometimes $10,000 a week to making $16 an hour working at a fucking factory. And it pissed me off, So I get sentenced and very, very luckily I get sentenced to 2 years of house arrest and 7 years of probation. So I never saw.
What the fuck did you just tell me?
From 32 years.
32 years.
To 0 time served.
0 time served.
Your lawyer earned his whatever.
Also like take into consideration,
right? Did you do the $225K or whatever you?
No, we didn't go to trial. We pled guilty for fucking everything. We did every single thing.
How the fuck you plead guilty and still don't have to do a drop of time?
According to Tony, he goes, the key here is we defer the case as long as humanly possible, and you do nothing but great things, right? So like, volunteer, get involved with church, blah, blah, blah. We were going to make you look like a fucking saint on paper and that you were just a drug addict and you were a product of, South Bend's environment. You were a product of society. You were a product of the drug pandemic that we have here in this country.
Christ.
I mean, just some fucking swarthy,
Which is probably about, 15% true?
Yeah. It was 1,000%, right?
Not 100.
No. I mean,
addicts sell. The thing I'm just in awe of is I have never seen someone being an addict being a a cause. Like I've seen people not even knowing that certain things is in a car and still being held accountable for it.
No,
being in the car.
1,000%.
That's why I'm like,
That's 1,000%.
what
It was the
fuck?
lawyer I chose who had been lawyering. I can't think of the term right now.
Yeah, they just been practicing,
practicing
law, so they
law
knew all the
in that
judges, they all
courthouse for
close.
35 years.
Building relationships with those
Him
judges.
and his
Yeah.
brother owned one of the like best law firms in town.
Bingo.
Right? Like I remember watching one of your podcasts and the dude was talking about how his lawyer like had lunch with the judge and shit like that. So like as soon as we were talking about like what's gonna happen, judge selection, all that type of stuff, he's like, all right, if this happens, this is what we're doing. If this person gets chosen, this is what we're doing. Like he was so plugged in that. I got
He
super
knows
lucky.
how they're gonna try. He knows.
He knew exactly what to do, and also he was a no nonsense motherfucker, and he was just like,
He's, like, good at his job.
Yeah,
You can give
and
him
he was
that.
great at his job, and I was his last case, and I think also he wanted to go out with a bang, so I was like, thank you,
Wow.
That's a
Thank
fucking
you.
bang.
Universe really
yeah,
had some plans for you.
yeah. So 2 years house arrest and 7 years probation. And here's where
You're still on probation now.
no,
though.
I just got off this June.
Hey, get that man some drugs and hookers. Hell yeah.
Done and done. No, I was kidding. So at this point, so I get sentenced, and this is where it just gets easy. The fear is no longer there. I know I'm not going to prison. I mean, unless I drastically fuck up, right? So I go on community corrections, and as soon as like I got to stay at my house, I didn't have the one that beeps. I didn't have the one that
How
had,
the fuck didn't you get the
and
one that
I
beat?
didn't get the one that shows your location either. I got the one that's just mapped to my house. And I
the
think
location you plug into the wall at your house.
yeah, there's just like a transponder thing, and then it
Yeah.
just records whether or not you're there.
Oh my god.
So I think again, a lot of this was educated, white male, comes from an affluent family. Like he's going to be living with his mom in a nice subdivision where the lawns are taken care of, and they got 2 dogs. You know what I mean? Like they're like, and we kept trying to create the story and of like it's not a problem. He made some mistakes. Let's just let him learn from it. Blah,
This is
blah,
your
blah.
first time?
Getting in any real trouble. I had some like weed charges, things like that.
Damn,
Like,
even then they still would have tried to fuck you over.
well, the weed charges, Tony got taken care of when I was younger too. So yeah, again, like my story is
Tony.
my story is
Tony.
more
Tony.
one of injustice, not for me, but for others, right? Because I watched during this time, I'm going in there and I'm seeing all these other people who are on community corrections, and like they missed like checking in by a half hour, and it's like, all right, you're doing a weekend in jail, right? I learned their system immediately and just figured out how to exploit it, right? So you have to fill out a schedule when you're working, right? They don't check it. I found out. I asked around. They don't check it. So I would be working from 10 a.m. to 4 a.m. 6 days a week. You know what I mean? And I was just doing whatever the fuck I wanted because it didn't tell me where.
now you get movement, which is unheard
Exactly.
of for them to not
Also,
check your
I will say
movement.
this. I was on probation when I was younger, and I figured out how to pass a drug test. So I basically like started the first few months. I was like, okay, they haven't tested me. This is when I usually have to go in. They understand that and I will say, as soon as I got put on house arrest, I went back into like the service industry, and I was working a shit ton, right? I just started framing things certain ways to them, right? So they hadn't tested me, or they're not calling me in, or I said, hey, like I can't just leave work. You know what I mean? Like this is my position. This is the cause and effect that it'll have, all of those things. I just would argue with them about stuff. And they're like, I think a lot of times the arguments are unfounded, and I'm just good at arguing. So, so then I just started to exploit the system. My case manager got switched a couple of times, and then finally, this is where it got real bad not bad for me, but I go into the meeting. They're like, you have a new case manager. In walks in a girl I used to sell coke to. Yep.
Stain!
Yeah. And
Fucking Stain!
yeah. And I go, oh, hello. And so she like tries to act like all professional and everything because there's this other person there. As soon as that person walks away, she goes, if you don't say anything, I won't say anything. And I go, okay, perfect.
Oh my god.
I go, as long as you call me and let me know, like if I gotta have to drop, if there's this is gonna happen, all that type of shit, right? Like there was even an incident where
What, did you know anything about like her relationship to that job or whatever? It was just like
I'd known her for
Say
like 15
nothing.
years, right? So like I knew her around, I knew everybody she hung out with, all that type
so
of
you
shit.
knew that
like,
she was doing this work and
she was
doing
still fucking slinging coke when she was a case manager, right?
That's what the fuck I'm talking about.
Government employees, dog.
Let's go.
So yeah,
That's why I
I was like, I know let's scratch each other's back here, right? So yeah, I mean, there was even an incident where my girlfriend at the time, I'd let her use my car. We're right on the border of like Michigan, and Michigan weed's legal. So she went up to the dispensary, grabbed some weed, left the bag in my car before she went to work, and I was driving, and I got pulled over for like a taillight, and they were like, so they found all the weed, all that type of shit, and basically they're like, we're gonna give you a ticket, blah blah. And I go, look, it has her name, it has all this shit. Like, this is not mine. This is my vehicle, right? This is not mine. Blah blah blah. And so as soon as that happened, I called my case manager, who I had known and sold drugs to, and I was like, this is what happened. Make it go away, please. And yeah, pretty much I had to go in a week later for a drug test to make sure that I wasn't smoking weed, and that's it, So
Fuck yeah.
2 years of community corrections. I mean, probably about 8 months in, I was partying again. I was drinking. I mean, I'm in my late 20s. I'm running a nightclub. So, put two and two together.
You was running a nightclub while doing it. And
on house arrest with an
ankle
ankle monitor.
Because they can deny your job depending on what you get arrested
service
for.
industry, they don't give a fuck. You can murder someone 2 days ago, as long as you're not like going to prison, they'll give you a job if you're good at your job. So yeah, and again, I
think he means what kind of job you can get. From like the case and from like your parole officer.
So like service industry, for example, I've had this on my record since I got back in. Not a single fucking person has cared or looked into it.
Yeah.
And I've worked for some of the best companies in the world.
Okay, question. When did you decide, because I know when you first got caught, you're like, I'm just sorry I got caught. You were clean for 9 months, but obviously you were like working the system. At what point did you decide, okay, but like, I'm not going to keep dealing? Like, was it the second you got caught?
The second I got caught, I was like, I'm done. I'm like, because I'm good enough at making money. I've always made money. I will figure it out. Because also I bartended in college, right? So I know that there are places in this world where I can go, especially in this country and just in my town, where I can go make $1,000 a night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like a street level dealer, same thing.
I asked because if I felt like spinning the story, but also like telling the truth, right? Like, your story might be one of privilege, but like, you didn't need to go to jail for 32 years, right? Or prison for 32 years in order to make the changes in your life that you did. Like, it sounds like you needed 9 months off.
Yeah.
Sounds like a little bit of correction or maybe a useful rehab would have been, but whatever it is, whatever cocktail, so to speak, of things that like came together to put you in this position now, as far as I know, at least comparatively across the board, if I might, like, you're a pretty upstanding, decent man.
Thank you.
Like, that did not require hard time. It required getting caught,
No,
and a little bit of punishment.
But
like,
right, like,
consequence anyway.
Like, and I think a big thing that I drew from it that is the kind of the basis of why you guys have this podcast was, not everybody can be like me, right? And that's not even giving myself a pat on the back. That is just me. I made a decision. I'm not going to be a failure in life. I'm not going to be a factory worker. I have much bigger ambitions. I have much more that I want to do with my life. So I have to figure out how the fuck to make this work. But the biggest takeaway that I had was, I got zero help. I did it 1,000% on my own, and they don't give help. Right? So like, you're in community corrections, they're not giving you programs that you can go to. They're not giving you funding or community programs where you can get a house, an apartment. You can get go into a halfway house. You can get, you know what I mean? Like, you can get a government assistance for health insurance, all of that type of shit. Like, I was super lucky to have the support system that I had to be able to chase my dreams and accomplish the things that I did. But I mean, for example, if I was on my own and my mom was a different person, or I didn't have the family that I do and all of those types of things, I might not have gotten as far as fast as I did, because there was zero help. Rehab didn't help, right? Like, the community programs that I was forced to go to, they didn't help. They didn't give me tools. They didn't give me lessons. They didn't do anything like that. They didn't give me resources or numbers to call or anything like that. I just raw dogged it and said, I got to do this on my own, and I got to figure it the fuck out. And yeah, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, but I've watched so many other people be in similar situations, be given that second chance. And that's why you see so many people having to take that third, fourth, fifth, sixth chance, right? And because there's no help, right? And
it's like economic recovery. Like, you have to go back to doing the thing to make money that
I
you're
was
doing to make money.
so fortunate. I got to go live in a, middle class home with dogs and groceries and electricity and internet and all the streaming services and all that shit. So yeah, well, I mean, like there was other stresses, but at the end of the day, I wasn't sitting there panicking, going, okay, fuck, I owe $400 this week to restitution. I owe this to the piss drops. I owe this to fucking whatever. I gotta pay rent. I gotta feed myself.
Also, these 4 walls are unsafe.
Yeah, like, exactly. No, like I was super fortunate. And I watched so many people backslide. I watched so many people just go right back in. I watched so many people just be like I became, the reason I was able to work the system was because I was privileged and benefited enough from my own environment to be able to like draw them a picture of myself saying, hey, I'm not an issue. Don't worry about me because I can figure this out, right? But then again, like, and I'll say this, I think the people that work those jobs are super important, but at the end of the day, from what I saw, government employees don't give a fuck. I mean, for the most part, in those types of things, right? Like they're not. There are people that do that with social work and all of those things that really want to make an impact, and that's great. But there are so many places like Chicago. We're super fortunate to be the city we are, to have the issues we have, and that people care and do those things. Let's say, in St. Joseph County Community Corrections, say there's 35 people that are doing that particular job, that are taking care of people like me in that situation. Maybe one of them cares, right? Maybe 2 of them care. Because at the end of the day, they only cared about making sure my fees were paid. They didn't even check that I still had a job.
Well, it's an incentive situation.
Yeah,
right?
They didn't care how you got your money is what you really mean.
Yeah, no, they wanted my fees paid.
As long as you make that money, go on out there, little fella.
And that's what I'm saying.
Right.
And that's
but
why,
that's
like,
the incentive of the program based on like the results oriented of whatever their success rate is, right? Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that's not like the health and happiness of a human being.
No, and
as it should be. But the government, the way that like federal grants apply and government grants apply, it's very fucked. Like obviously, I work in nonprofit. I do have empathy for folks that work in these jobs too, because of the way that the pay is both structured for them, the incentives for them to do this work, and then the other component is like the number of times you run up against like, I'm not making a fucking difference anyway. Like to your point, the number of people that like
Chicago,
the recidivism rates, the number of people that quote unquote choose to not change their lives or are so heavily impacted by their environments and their circumstances that you're just like, well,
no, I mean, like I saw that here in Chicago.
You have fatigue.
I transferred my probation, right, and like they called me once a month, and if I didn't call them back for 3 days, they just leave a message saying, hey, could you give us a call back, right? Or there was a snag in something or something like that, and I was like, all right, this is going to take longer to figure out, blah, blah, blah. But like you could just tell that when I would go in there once every 3.5 months, 3 or 4 months, that I'd go in there and this woman's desk is stacked with files, and she's just like, okay, you haven't killed somebody, you haven't killed yourself, you're not doing drugs, great. Half the time they wouldn't even drop me. Like, what I mean? She's like, I'm just trying to get through the day. You know what I mean? And I think that it's not their fault. I think it's the tools they're given by the system, right? To be able to do these things. Like going through, I tried to kill myself twice during that whole thing, right? And there was no like mental health outlets. There was nobody that I could go to and be like, hey, I want to walk into traffic right now. Do you have anybody I can call? No.
They don't have those.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't give you. I mean, like, it's not that they don't care. It's that they're not given the tools. From what I learned from my experience,
they don't have the bandwidth.
Like they don't have the bandwidth because also these are human beings with
skill
their
set,
own lives.
education,
exactly. But with their own lives, and even if they're trying to make impact, like there's a point at which you go, why am I trying so hard for so little? Right? You're not making good money. Look, if you made social workers and people who handle those things, gave them $150,000 a year, our system would change immediately.
100%.
You know what I mean? It would change immediately.
Also because, like, so I was doing some social work, and my caseload it was tough like that.
Yeah.
Like I had. So the situation you described, I had a young man who was in a similar situation where he had beat a case, or at least pled guilty, was a felon, and became homeless because all of his family and friends were in public housing and already had a felon staying there, and you can't have another felon stay there. So he couldn't go home to his mom. He couldn't go to his grandma.
And how are you supposed to be on that program without an address? You know what I'm
or
saying?
What lifestyle?
You can't get into a halfway house. You can't get into a homeless shelter. So you are sleeping on the street. You're sleeping in your car. Now you're being vilified for the circumstances that you've been dealt.
You
Like-
can't even associate with felons, so
Yeah.
you have a hard time even going to church or going to organizations with them. And the only way you know how to make money is because of
felon stuff.
felonious
Yeah.
ways. So work with that young man. Show me the privilege that a lot of people have. That even if they don't know, I promise you, you have privileges. I unfortunately, because the program, the losing money, I wasn't able to actually help the young man because after years he ended up an abusive partner, had a baby with her, and unfortunate cycles of abuse and oppression. But I look for that net, right? What does that net look like to catch people, them young people who don't have a home to go to, or someone to help pay bills, or a supportive parent, or something like that?
I mean, you get in that situation also, you're not given, not even guidance, you're not given anything. They're not like, hey, all right, let's take a look at your file. Oh, this is really fucked up. Actually, there's a number you can call. There's a place you can go, right? Because especially now, I can only imagine how much worse it's gotten with the defunding of like fucking everything.
I was going to say the net, by the way, is prison. The net right now is ICE vans taking people to prison to make money for the prison complex.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
And I mean, like, look, I think whatever it is that I believe in every day, that I had the intestinal fortitude to claw my fucking way out of it. And the only reason I don't stop is because I can't imagine the idea of going back and being in a situation like that, right? But also being conscious of the fact that I had it relatively easy, right? And that there are plenty of people I know personally who have gotten a fucking DUI and have gone through more shit with that than I did, facing 32 years in prison, right? And that just goes to like systemically how broken all of it is from the top down, right? That you mentioned the prison industrial complex. We've got every other like community programs getting defunded. All of the defunding that's going on right now, like it's not just taking away from the poor, the people who don't have the job skills, the people who all they've found themselves in all these situations and everything like that. But like there is, not to sound too morose, but at this point there's like almost no hope for so many people, and that's why you go back to slinging drugs. That's why you go back to robbing. That's why you go back to doing criminal activities.
So you go back to doing drugs.
Yeah. I mean, to deal with the stresses of having to sling drugs again.
Escapism is what we are looking at. Mass amounts of people want to escape.
It's just it's what I've seen is it's fucked from the top down, right? And in every way, and I could sit there here and talk about that for hours, because I might not have experienced it, but I saw it every day. You know what I mean? I saw it. Now, granted, I think that there's plenty of people that I saw and encountered during those processes that, like, yeah, dude, you need a real kick in the ass. You should go to prison so you can figure your shit out, or you blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, because there are bad people and there are good people, but when you don't have anywhere to turn, where are you going to turn? When a rat gets, put into the corner, what's it going to do? It's going to fucking chew its way out.
And to your point, not everybody needs that net that we have, right? Prison should be like one of the last fucking nets.
1,000%.
And unfortunately, no matter if you're going through financial troubles, you're going through mental health issues, you're going through whatever, you might end up in the same net as somebody who wants to kill people with spoons.
A great example.
I was obviously being like a bit crass by referring to it as the net, but that's what it
is
is right now.
It's the only net, right?
Yeah. It should be the
example.
Floor, and there should be 6 nets in front of it,
right?
and different shoots.
There's this kid I met in rehab who'd been addicted to heroin on and off for half of his fucking life. He was like 26, right? So he'd been doing heroin since he was like 13 years old.
Oh,
right? Okay.
no.
So he's in and out of jail, all this other type of shit, blah, 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 blah. And like finally he'd had to go into jail, but he hadn't been offered rehab the first like 3 or 4 times. He hadn't been offered the help. He hadn't done anything like that until finally, like, I don't know exactly what happened with him in his story, but like he made that decision. And you see that far too often, where like if somebody would have intervened at 15. Now, a lot of times at 15, a kid's not going to fucking listen. I wouldn't have listened to 15. But to have somebody there, to have resources, to have those types of things, like he's doing great now, but after 15 years of, backsliding and avid self-work and all of that type of stuff. But for some people, you don't have the capacity or the ability to do that.
Well, and to be clear, it's not just like capacity or ability for the most part. The intention of the prison industrial complex is to keep fathers in jail, so there is fewer resources. Moms have to work 3 jobs. These kids are not, school. They can't travel school to prison pipeline. They can't get to school, shutting down schools. Then they have to travel. Then they're joining other community organizations that support them better than their families. That that the care isn't necessarily the same. Maybe it is. No, that's not my place to pass judgment, but like it is very intentional. Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
I mean, I was just like, I'm sorry, I got lost there for a second. You referred to a gang as a community organization, which they are, right? But I was like, hold on.
I felt like that was pretty fair.
It was good. I just needed to clarify because I was like, I'm getting lost.
And the intent. Okay, fine. Even if I remove intent, the result of incarceration of the incarceration rate being, especially of Black men, and being 1 in 4 reported, right, is that is 1 in 4 families then without, let's just even call it half of another income, like half of an income household, as opposed to a 2 income household, or one person being able to stay home and take care of children while someone else. And I'm just saying at the base economic level, right? Then what do you do for resources? What your point was, which is I actually think a lot more valuable, because we see a lot of low income situations and stories change based on the like parenting and the family situation at hand. That's with the presumption that the family is available.
No, 1,000%.
And at home and not in jail.
Well, 1,000%. And I mean, I think it goes into so many things of like presence of things as a child, right? Like I was basically raised by my grandma, who, I'm not saying she was easy. She would beat me with a fucking pan sometimes, right? But she was an old school New England, woman.
Hell yeah.
So when I was doing, but then when I was old enough and I didn't have to go to her house, I'd go home, and my mom's working till 7, 8 at night, right? I don't have consequences to my actions.
No structure.
Yeah, exactly. No structure, right? But, doing that in an environment with money led to the same thing as doing that with an environment with no money. Right.
Oh, that's deep.
You know what I'm saying?
No
so
structure, you end up in the same space.
Exactly. Like, for example, even though I went to private school, there weren't after school programs. I played sports and stuff like that. Yeah, but you bet your ass the moment we got done with practice, our asses are smoking a blunt and going to McDonald's, right? With no ramifications to these actions, like not doing homework. It's like, okay, your grandpa donates all this money to this school. We can't like kick you out, but we're gonna like discipline you, right? So lack of structure in any context and in any socioeconomic situation,
shit.
Right? It leads to like groups of people just not having any conscious understanding of the ramifications to their own actions.
And most specifically, like kids doing drugs.
Yes, specifically,
kids getting into drugs and addiction way too early.
It was so easy.
As well,
Willie the Snowman, man, my first weed dealer. Willie the Snowman. He goes, rain, sleet, or shine. I'm always here, baby.
Was he puffy?
He was. And he was this little 5'3" dude. He loved big white women, and he sold mids. So no, but like it was so easy for me to find and get drugs. But it was so easy for me to find and get drugs, and I didn't even grow up in that environment, right? So like, I don't know if we just want to call it like a systemic thing or a societal thing or whatever, but like, it's just broken from the base, Yeah,
and I think that's interesting because everybody talks about the price of mass incarceration, and it's actually the least efficient, fiscally speaking. So not only are we harming more people directly and indirectly, we're actually wasting a ton more money, because if we provided those wraparound services and those mental health resources for people, that's a lot cheaper than incarcerating somebody for years and then reincarcerating them because you didn't actually rehabilitate them the first time. Like I had young people who are affiliated with street organizations. We do circles, and one time somebody joked like, "Oh man, all of us is here because we actually get more love here than we do at the crib." And it struck a chord to somebody leading this circle, like, "Yo, it's like 10 plus people here. What you mean it's 10 plus men here in this circle that get more love from gang members than they do from their mother, their father, their brother, their sister? They co-parent, so it's like, fuck. The most basic thing, like, yeah, rent, yeah, food, yeah, water, but also love."
Yeah.
Damn.
I'll leave you with something that is a theory I have, and if it's true, it's really fucked up. But think about all the things that I did, and then the consequences that I had for them. Is it possible that within our system, because I'm a white educated man, that letting me go and rebuilding my life means that I'm going to be worth more tax dollars at the end of the day than somebody else who's just going to keep going through the system and all of those other types of things? Now, it might sound crazy. It's just something that popped in my head. But like, I've seen it so many times where people get a slap on the wrist, and then you go on and you make all this money and all of those things, and then you are part of that system that funds the prison industrial complex, the part of that system that funds everything else, right? And if you're looking at like a statistic, taking just what I am, right, as a statistic, am I more likely to do that or less likely to help fund the industrial prison complex or to help, be affected by it or whatever? So,
yeah, I think that is how it exactly comes back to racism too, right? It's like, okay, well, you're going to fund the economy that funds the prison industrial complex, and I think like just straight up, who are the workers in prison? It's like a separation.
Yep. Who's going to be more effective in there, and who's going to be more effective out there?
Yeah, I think that's
who's
fair.
Who's going to make more money for the system?
Yeah.
Holy fuck, that's disgusting.
Okay, we're going to need to end on a mildly more positive note. The way that we do this
Pre-nut delusion.
is...
Sorry. Sorry.
The way
I had to
we
get
do
it
this,
in one more time.
now that we're in post-nut clarity,
Yep,
I guess,
yep.
Which we did not cut this podcast. I should say that. But
we don't?
I mean, you guys, I'll step out. You guys can have a little...
There will be some
circle jerks.
No.
Patreon, here we come.
Really coming at.
I was gonna say I don't want to get you demonetized, but like, are you monetized?
We are.
That's funny as fuck.
That was about to be our close. We should cut this part. Okay, here's how we actually do this: is we close on like shouting out, so to speak, putting on organizations or people or moments, like either people, I wouldn't call it like people that helped you along the way, organizations that, I know you said you did it on your own, right? But like, we call it like arts and acts, you listen to the podcast. So like anything even outside of your personal experience, and we'll do some too. Well, I have one as well, that we'll just like put out there as in people to like follow, support. There are people like doing this work to do the very, very messy job of untangling that theory.
I mean, for me, unfortunately, because I'm just a workaholic, I'm not super familiar. However, I have encountered a ton of people in the last few years that I've been in Chicago that are involved in so many amazing programs. Like you're one of them, right? With what you do with prison yoga and everything like that, right? I think that, I guess I can't shout out a particular organization, but I can just stress for anybody who's struggling with any of these things or, having experienced this stuff and all of those things, that community in any form, right? For me, it was the restaurant community, right? For me, it was be able to find a place of broken ass people that accepted me for who I was, that half of them were felons, that allowed me to further my education in certain aspects, to get skills, to
find passion,
to
enjoyment,
have an outlet of creativity and all of those things, right? I think anything that is involving groups of people getting together to make positive impact in any way, even if it's not intentional, is anything that is something that every single person needs to like seek. Because
community.
Otherwise, at the end of the day, we're just sitting here alone with our own terrible thoughts. So I will say
delusions. Okay.
I will say there is one thing that I really like. It doesn't necessarily super positively impact what we've been talking about, but the Color Room up in Avondale does really, really dope shit as far as like media presentation and local artists and everything like that, as well as
they do some stand up there
as
too.
well as it's not Sleeping Village, it's the place on the corner that's over by the actual Logan Square. They have a bunch of local art stuff. They do silent movies in the summer and shit like that.
What is that venue?
I mean, actually, you know what? Something that I think is really fucking awesome, and I'm going to shout it out. My friend Carly runs an organization called Next Door Dinners. So what they do is we try to, and I've volunteered and helped put these on. We put one on at my old restaurant. We'll take locally sourced food from like local urban gardens and things like that, and basically cook like a 4 or 5 course meal. And then we donate every single proceed we can. We try to get everything donated right to us. Everybody donates their time, and we've gotten really cool chefs and stuff involved. And then we donate to actual organizations that benefit Chicago citizens, right? So I think you guys should support them. They do a dinner every month, And
what's the name of that again?
Next Door Dinners.
Next Door Dinners.
And it's really cool. It's a beautiful thing of community where like no matter where we've held it, it's all like communal tables, and there's always the people from the organizations that are being impacted that come and speak. It's a really cool way to get to know and see other people, have a great meal, and just make positive impact in a super simple way. It's a lot of time it's based off of like what you can give. So don't use it as an opportunity for a really cheap meal. But, you know, like for a 4-course dinner, if you can give 60, 70, $80, that's going a super long way for some of these organizations. We get 100 people to do that, you know, like that's a lot of money. Like I think the last time we did one that I was involved in, we raised like $3,800, and it went to a Southside community center that specifically dealt and catered to young women, trans folks, and what's the word I'm looking for here? Other marginalized communities, specifically though within the South Side of Chicago. So
that's dope.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's super powerful.
Highlighting that.
If I could highlight an organization here in Chicago, shout out to Icebreakers. A ton of different elected officials and non-elected officials, people in the community coming together to spread awareness of the rights that people have during this.
Including you, by the way. You've been posting.
I definitely try. During this, like a soft launch of a civil war. So it's definitely important for people to
and a moose-boosh.
Work with. I know, dude, it's fucking crazy. To just link with like-minded people, give your nervous system the break that it needs from the headlines, and also know that you got enough to help. So even if it looks like, you know, running errands for somebody, even if that is just talking to somebody, even if that is, walking somebody's kids home, everybody has something that they can give. It doesn't always have to be money. And some of the time it could just be love and consideration. So shout out to Icebreakers and everybody that's trying to make sure that everyone knows their rights, no matter their status. So shout out to them.
Yeah, and to every individual, just doing what you can too, whether it's like having extra whistles, teaching people what that means. A couple of my friends' kids have been, directly impacted by the ICE raids, and so much as their teachers have been detained in like Spanish immersion programs and things like that. So the parents are now walking, like when they go on walks or to their cars, like teachers, like even from places of privilege, you can do quite a bit. Especially from places of privilege, you can do quite a bit, but like those small acts, like obviously go a long way. And Vic Mensa, I'd like to note as well, because he's been doing all these videos, I think, in his backyard or somewhere, specifically like under a minute, talking about like why people are still incarcerated, why you can't separate, like why Black communities can't separate themselves from what's happening with the ICE raids, why it is super intentional that it's happening in the South Side, things like that, and South Shore rather, but like it's. He doesn't have to do shit. I mean, look, he's always been doing shit. He has always been on that line. But like the education, the way that he's doing it right now feels like not only critical but very digestible, which is difficult to do. Which speaks to obviously his intellect, but also the intention behind it, and like getting his team to make sure that those things are like coming out the way that they're coming out.
Not to minimize anything, but you can do anything to make ICE agents' lives a little bit more sufferable. I crop dusted a few of them the other day, and I heard one of them go, "What the fuck?" thinking it was another dude. Incredible. And I'm just saying, like, I felt something for that. Now, I mean, like, I think it's absolutely awful, and it's fucked up. I mean, like, I have employees who are scared to come to work right now, right? Like, they're like, I can't leave my house. They're in my neighborhood, right? So anything you can do to make their life a little bit more difficult, do. You know what? It's a yellow light. Maybe it's even green. Stop.
Yeah.
Take extra long at a stop sign, yeah.
I saw this.
Jaywalk.
Fuck them up.
Jaywalk. Make them hit you.
I saw this person that was like, I'd take their food. I would deliver Uber Eats, and if you thought I was going to go there and drop it off, I'm not going there at all. I'm taking the whole fucking meal. So no matter what you're doing.
Anything you can do. Anything you can do.
I saw a lady who was like, I'm not fucking nobody that's in town from Texas because fuck that.
Who knows? Who knows?
I love it.
You know, I mean, look, like there's a few of us like restaurant operators who've already like been talking about it, specifically because so many of our employees are affected, right? Like if ICE agents walk into our establishment, you will not be served. You know, you will You will not be catered to. I mean, there's a ton of.
You know what? No post-nut clarity for ICE agents.
Yeah, no, fuck that. Fuck that.
And,
you only get the delusion.
You know they are backed up, which is kind of the whole thing.
Invoke your Third Amendment because with Chicago, we making sure that we have places and spaces for people to feel safe.
You see my shirt today?
What
it says, "Don't talk to cops."
Oh,
that's
shit.
what your lawyer's for.
I like
shit. Sorry.
Hell yeah.
Hold on. And on the back, it has like a whole thing for you to say to them.
Nice.
Officer, I am invoking my 4th and 5th Amendment rights. I do not answer questions from any law enforcement without my attorney present, nor do I agree to a search of my person or property. I would like to leave now. Am I free to go?
Send one of these to everyone.
Because if you are not detaining me, I am gone.
Yeah.
And so this is to make sure that if you got a space in Chicago, you understand that you can't have a space for your employees where the public cannot go. So no matter what they talking about, if they don't have a signed letter from an actual judge, a signed warrant.
I mean, you saw what happened to the alderperson. Like, I mean, it's...
You feel me? So nobody's actually safe.
A couple of comics and people that have worked in the community as well have been detained, driven around. Like, it's very, very, very dark times.
Yeah.
I would agree, civil race war. And yet the things that I have seen from especially this city and this community and the way people have been fucking around so that ICE does in fact not just have a harder time, but like true resistance from the city of Chicago. To that end, again, if you're like protesting, if you're doing these things, don't sign up. You don't need to do any of that shit. Like at some point AI will have that information if that's not even the point from the start. Like just show up, show out. And I don't know, I have a note on protests too on our way out. Like I've heard a lot of like, performative, whatever around protests and coming to the street. There is historically a significant there's a statistically significant number, I think it's like 6%, I learned from Pivot podcast, of American citizens taking to the streets that actually does force change. We've seen it in Vietnam.
1,000%.
There's enough people
to go even
actually have
back,
a critical
the
mass
American Revolution.
I was
listening to some Ken Burns shit the other day, so I'm a little on that.
So I just want to note that some people are like, it's like that doesn't really matter. It doesn't like. Yes, it does. It's not just like cute to see the people lining the streets of Chicago. It's not just cute to say we have more people out there than anyone. It's like critical mass across the country does force the country's hand. We see this, I think, again, with like ICE, the way that it's going to impact like people of privilege and will continue to will be what moves the needle. Like people's money will start being affected higher up and higher up and higher up, and that will change. But the support around it as well, with the fact that we can socialize that and publicize that for all the demons that the media and social media brings to our lives, like that. It is real. So if you're not doing anything, you can at least do that.
I will say this. There's a correlation, right? And people are always like, what can we do? We're not going to go protest. We're not going to do all these
White
things,
people
right?
I'm speaking to, by the way, specifically.
Yeah. Me too, for the most part. But like something that we're not thinking about is like there's a huge correlation with a decline in business within our restaurant industry here in Chicago right now, right? I mean, obviously it's affecting me and my business.
Comedy venues,
and comedy venues, all those things, right?
People are not coming out.
And a huge part of that is that immigrants make up 60 to 70% of our workforce, right? So the less you're coming out because you're scared of all these things going on and all of that type of stuff, that means that these people are getting less hours. That means that this business is now making less money. That means that these businesses are going to have to shutter. Now these people can't pay their bills. They can't provide for their families. They can't deal with the situations that are happening because of all of this other shit. So, there's more ways to be impactful than just protesting, than just speaking, than just doing all of those things, right? There's the supporting of local businesses that are employing these immigrants. I mean,
I think
that's
I do
50% of my workforce, right? Like my staff is 50% of them are
customers too.
Are people who are like super fearful of this and that are relying and subjected to the risk involved in all of this stuff of just like going outside. So
do the daily things as well. This we do want to know. We have to wrap, but will be our final podcast for the year. We are we got to go out on a bang, much like Tony.
Hey.
We very much appreciate you being here. I'm a 50% positive that we have not said your full name as a guest in this podcast, or ours for that matter, because we dove right into.
I don't even exist.
Michelle
I'm
already
artificial
denied
intelligence.
my whole
Into-
blackface thingy, whatever. You know what I meant. The distorted voice and the yeah. All right. Never mind.
Oh.
I wanted. I
was
to,
like,
so
we can't
she
close
said,
on
"Is there
that."
anything you request?" And I go, "I request that my face be blurred and that I am backlit and that you guys use a voice modulator,
You know what? When we get money,
like a 60-minute,
we will
like a
be-
60-minute."
Just to be clear, we will be using the next couple months to ideally bring in some funds so that we can continue to run this podcast, which is currently, done out of our own pockets and love and energy. So, for a need to do this work. So we are going to be doing that through the end of the year. As always, if you're listening through this, you have people to connect us with. Like, again, networking is the whole key, and ours is not for like our own necessarily good. It's
Your
for
network
the
is your network.
I know I really want
Okay.
to remove the word network that I just used there, but like if you have people in your community that might support this work, we would greatly appreciate the connect, and we will take it from there. We also appreciate the people that have reached out to us that might in fact already be in the process of supporting us. So thank you to everyone that continues to listen and continues to share our stuff, and we will be back soon.
Like and subscribe.
We'll be back
Like,
soon.
subscribe,
Like and subscribe. By the way, my
repost.
name is Catherine Gogor.
name
I
is Kyrie
am
the
a comedian and the president of Prison Yoga Chicago. This is Beyond Bars. As you're hopefully well aware by now, we are hosted at the Lincoln Lodge. My co-host is...
Kyrie the comic. I appreciate everybody for listening. Ladies love cool Kyrie.
Ladies of Cool. And our guest today...
What is that? LL. I can't
Cool
even
K.
think of it. All right.
Yeah, cool K.
I'm Max.
This is Max Shapiro. Max, can I say your full name?
Yeah.
Maximilian.
If I die, it's your fault, but no, I'm just kidding.
We
Yeah,
can-
I'm Max Shapiro. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me, I guess, tell my story. But yeah, it's been great.
Thank you, Max. Thank you, Michelle
you,
Tyler
Max.
in the background, Lincoln Lodge, Christian. We'll see you soon.
Peace.